What's up, everyone? Thanks for checking out the video. Southside Braves here, and today for you I have a very different video than what you normally see on my channel. Right off the bat, you can probably see I got a face cam hooked up this time. Something I never do in my videos. I don't know, just have never been real comfortable with it. But this one's different enough. I think this is time to bust it out, so we're gonna give it a try. What this video is, I'm gonna be talking some football. I'm a big NFL fan, and I feel like a lot of times I talk football at people that don't really share the same interest or the same knowledge for it. So this just gave me an excuse to talk football for a little bit. I'm going to do these every week going into the NFL season. And like I said, I'll do a little preview of every week as we get there. So this is obviously week one. And if you can't tell by my get up and my chair and everything, I'm a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. That is my team. Whenever I do my picks, you will see me always pick them, no matter what. So that's just how it is. Specific jersey I'm wearing this week. Don't know if you can see it. Le'Veon Bell. Obviously no longer Steeler. Had a falling out with us a few years ago. But wanted to wear it going this season to kind of remember the good times. Back when we had Ben and Brown and Bell. And because we're going into a big unknown part of Steeler history now. Ben is gone. Obviously Bell and Brown have been gone for a while. Can't get myself to wear the Brown jersey anymore. He's too far gone. We're gonna leave that be. But Bell, I could at least still put on and remember what he once was. So that being said, we have a new era of Steeler football we're gonna get into. So the way this is gonna work every week, like I said, I'm gonna talk about the games. I'm gonna talk about some of the headlines going into the week. I'll go over kind of what I thought of the previous week of games, and then take a look ahead at next week's games, make my picks, and a little bit of reason why. When I get to the games, I'll talk about some key injuries, one of the key matchups, keys to victory, and a fantasy player I think might have a bust-out game, or somebody to keep an eye on. And I just kind of like having everything formatted. So that's the way these videos are going to break down. So that being said, let's just start talking. So some of my headlines going into week one, obviously top Steeler headliners. Who's playing QB for us? Ben's no longer there, retired after his excellent 2 Super Bowl career. And if you see me keep looking to my right, sorry, that's where I took my notes. Just make sure I got everything that I want to say. But yeah, Steeler QB, like I said, Ben's gone. Won the 2 Super Bowls for us, made it to a third. But we named yesterday, I'm recording this on Wednesday, so as of Tuesday, I believe, is when Tomlin named Mitch Trubisky our starting quarterback. But that's who I was backing the whole time. We brought him to be the starter. I think he got an unfair treatment in Chicago. I think the kid's got talent. I think he athletically has everything you need your quarterback to have. Just can he make the right decisions down the field? Can he read the defense well enough is a big question. But I like the decision to go with Trubisky. There's no reason to rush Pickett in there. I will admit, in the preseason, with how good he looked, I was starting to waver a little bit and think maybe we should just give the team to Pickett. But I agree with Coach Tomlin. Give the ball to Trubisky. And I'm hoping we don't see Pickett all year. That means Trubisky's doing his job. We're winning football games. When we'll end up seeing Pickett is when Trubisky starts to struggle and we start losing football games. So, in my eyes, I hope Trubisky's a starter all year. But that's kind of the update on the Steelers quarterback situation. Biggest headline in the last couple weeks going into the season for me personally that wasn't a Steeler headline was the Brian Robinson shooting. Which, if you haven't heard about this, Brian Robinson, the rookie starting running back for the Commanders, shot in, I believe, a car robbery. It was a robbery of some sort. I believe it was a car robbery. And I believe he was shot twice. I believe in butt area, to be honest. I think he took 2 bullets. I didn't know much about Brian Robinson going into the year. I knew he was a rookie running back, that he was winning the starting job over Antoine Gibson. But yeah, the fact that they have him on IR or the physically or the PUP list or whatever, which will be through week 5, and they think he might be back and ready to play by week 6 is incredible to me. I've never been shot. I don't know what it's like to be shot. But the fact that they're saying 6 weeks from now he might be ready to play football again is just mad respect for that dude. I think that's awesome for him. And just to be clear, the shooting in that, I believe, from last I heard, he had nothing to do with it. It's not like he put himself in a bad situation or anything. Just unlucky circumstances up with him getting shot. So that was the Brian Robinson news. Third little headline I want to talk about before I jump into the games is lots of revenge games here in week 1. Some quarterbacks playing old teams, which I think is awesome. The big one on Monday night is I would say it's the second biggest one in my mind, at least, is Russ going back to Seattle. Obviously, Russ did a lot for that Seattle team, won them a Super Bowl. And I know there were some ill feelings when he left, so he's going to want to put it on him. So, and I think he will. That Seattle team's just not very good this year. Denver, I think, could be a powerhouse, but every AFC team this year can be a powerhouse. It's incredible. But yeah, so we got Russ going back to Seattle. We got Baker playing in Carolina against Cleveland, which I think Baker is going to torch the Browns. I think the Browns still have a good team, even without Deshaun for the first 11 weeks. I still think they have a lot of talent, but I don't think there's any way Baker allows Carolina to lose that game. I think he is pissed at Cleveland, and I think he's going to show it. And there is a third one that I want to mention. It does not get any near the headlines of the first two, for good reason, but it needs to be mentioned. Is Joe Flacco was named the starter for the Jets until week 4, I believe, is when Zach Wilson might be back. He is playing Baltimore, and I know he won a Super Bowl for Baltimore. I question how good he ever actually was. Obviously, a Steeler fan, Ravens' big rival, but no matter what you think of the guy, he did a lot for Baltimore. So him playing Baltimore in week 1, I'm rooting for him. 1, I want the Ravens to lose, and 2, I think he deserves a little more respect than he actually gets. But those are the 3 big revenge games for some quarterbacks. So, like I said, after that, we're just going to jump into some games here. So, first off, tomorrow, Thursday night, kick off the season, we got a great one. A lot of people think can be the preview for the Super Bowl. I don't know. I haven't actually made my Super Bowl pick. I guess I probably got to do that before the season starts. I don't know who I think is going to be in it. But Bills Rams would be a good choice. Some injuries. I know Davis White, their corner for Buffalo, is out for a little while. Isaiah McKenzie is questionable, their slot receiver. I think last time I heard he was leaning closer to not playing tomorrow. So we'll see on that. For the Rams, Van Jefferson is questionable, their receiver. Matt Stafford, he's going to play, but he's coming off the shoulder injury. So we'll see what he's like. I assume he's just fine. We'll have to see. Key matchup, I think, is just that. Stafford going up against that Bills defense. Is he right? Can he still chuck the ball around the field a little bit? Because that connection between him and Cup last year is a big reason why the Rams not only made it to the Super Bowl, but ended up winning it. So that's my big key matchup, is that Stafford versus that Bills secondary. Fantasy player to watch, I want to see what Cam Akers brings to the offense for the Rams here in week 1. If Stafford's not 100%, if he's 80, 90%, do they lean on the run a little bit more? Does Cam Akers get more touches than he did last year? I'm curious to see how Cam Akers is used here. I think he can have a big game if Stafford's not right. Even if he is right, he's their starting running back for a Super Bowl winning team. That's my guy I'm keeping an eye on for fantasy. And like I said, I kind of mentioned it, key to victory. I just think if Stafford and Cup have what they had last year, I don't think Bills defense, which is good. I mean, it can slow them down, and the Bills are going to put up points, obviously, with Josh Allen in that offense. Josh Allen, MVP favorite going into the season. I believe Vegas has him as the number 1 odds for MVP, and he has been for the last few months. So obviously, I don't even know who the favorite is here. I would not be surprised if it was the Bills, but I think it is the Rams because they're at home. But honestly, there'll probably be more Bills fans there than Rams fans. So I think it's excellent game to start the year. But I do think Stafford and Cup are going to pick up where they left off a little bit. Cup can't have the year he had last year. That was just historically good. But I still think he'll have a great year, and I think him and Stafford are still just going to keep firing away. So I'm going to pick the Rams here to win the opening game of the year. Even though the Bills are the odds-on Super Bowl favorite, Josh Allen's the MVP favorite, all this and that, I think the Bills are going to start off the year 0-1, and I think the Rams are going to win on Thursday Night Football. Next up, we got the Saints and Falcons at noon on Sunday. I'm Central, so noon Central time. But Saints Falcons. Saints have some question marks coming into the game. Michael Thomas is questionable. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know about that dude. I don't know what he's got going on now. I don't know when we'll see him play again. But he's listed as questionable here going into week 1. Kamara's questionable. I expect him to play. Barring a suspension, I didn't hear much about that for a while. I know he was possibly going to get suspended at some point, and then that kind of fell out of the news. So I'm not clear there where that sits, but I believe he's going to play. Winston's listed as probable, just a little banged up. Winston will be the starting quarterback. And Taysom Hill, who has now been moved to tight end, is also listed as probable, but I believe, is listed as their starting tight end. And some other ones is they're missing one of their tackles, and their safety May is also questionable. For Atlanta, just got some wide receiver news. Obviously, Calvin Ridley has been suspended for the year because of his gambling. And then Drake London, the rookie wide receiver, is questionable as well. I think key here for the game, New Orleans is the better team. I think everyone would agree with that. If Atlanta wants to stand a chance in this game and come out with a win, they're going to have to control the ball. I think time of possession is going to be big here. If Atlanta can win time of possession and limit how many opportunities you give Winston, I think that can be big, because we all know Winston will make some mistakes, but he'll also make some great plays. So if you limit how many opportunities he has for the big play and just capitalize on his mistakes, I think that's your key to victory here for Atlanta. Obviously, vice versa for New Orleans. Jameis Winston, protect the football. Fantasy player to watch. Like I said, New Orleans has got some banged up guys. I don't know how healthy they are coming into week 1. Question marks around Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara obviously is going to do what he does if he's on the field. The guy I actually want to watch, he's had a weird NFL career. But I want to watch how Cordero Patterson does for the Falcons. He's their starting running back this year. He had a great year last year. But again, just a very weird trajectory of his NFL career. Had some ups and downs in that. I want to see how he does week 1 against New Orleans. Like I said, I think the Falcons are going to limit how many possessions that the Saints have. I think Winston will make just a few mistakes. And I'm going to pick Atlanta and have this week 1 upset. I think week 1 can be a very crazy year, or a crazy week in a lot of years. You don't really know what a lot of teams have yet. So week 1's want to actually pick more upsets than normal, because we don't know what normal is yet. Week 1, new season. So we don't know what to expect. I'm picking Atlanta to win at home here against New Orleans. Next up, we have a battle of the AFC East, New England and Miami. For New England, some injuries. They're coming to this game pretty healthy. Most teams are fairly healthy. Most of the injuries you're going to hear me name are dinged up guys, but they are listed, so I'm going to name them. I don't name every single player that's injured either. For Patriots, they're missing one linebacker. Perkins is out. For the Dolphins, missing one of their corners. Jones is out. And then their new running back, Mostert, that they picked up, they're part of their speed team, is questionable. I expect him to play. And Jalen Waddle is probable. I definitely think he'll play. But yeah, New England, Miami, one of my favorite matchups, because I hate New England. And Miami has consistently, even when they haven't been very good, had New England's number. It's one of those weird matchups that, like, New England was great for years and years, and Miami was pretty terrible. And Miami would still win some of these matchups. You had, like, the Miami Miracle. You had the Wildcat being broken out against New England. Like, especially in Miami. And now Miami has, in my opinion, the better team. Miami, it comes down fully to Tua. Their team is fantastic around him. Can Tua utilize all these weapons and go pick up wins? I think that's the key. I think it simply comes down to that. If Tua can play well and use the weapons around him, I think they win most games. Problem is, I don't fully believe in Tua. So that's where the Miami dilemma comes in. Guy I'm watching is how Chase Edmonds goes up against the front seven for the New England. New running back in town for Miami. I think Chase Edmonds is a fantastic running back, actually. Obviously not top tier like your stars of the league, but I think he's a really good running back Miami got. So then pairing him up with Mostert, I think they have a good backfield. I'm curious how they use the backfield to take off pressure from Tua. Don't fall in love with Tua and all the new wide receiver threats. Tyreek Hill, obviously. If they lean on Chase Edmonds enough and Mostert, specifically Edmonds, though, I think Edmonds will be the fantasy player to watch here. And I think Miami will pick up the win week 1 against him. So I think there. Moving on to the next game. It's Steelers-Bengals. I will actually be at this game in person in Cincinnati, about 5 hours away from where I live. We're driving there on Saturday, waking up on Sunday to go watch the game. So super pumped about that. I've told you before already at the start of this video, I'm never going to pick against the Steelers, but I'm going to give you some reasons why the Steelers. So first off, some injuries. Unfortunately for the Steelers, we're not going to get to see rookie wide receiver Calvin Austin. He's such a good speed threat, punt returner and stuff. Really excited to see him play whenever he gets to, but unfortunately he is out for this game. For the Bengals, I mean, not much. Tight end Sample is questionable. And Joe Burrow is coming off an appendix surgery, but he's going to play. Again, it's week 1. Most teams are relatively healthy at least. Obviously, the key matchup, if you know anything about the Steelers, is our O-line versus their D-line. Our O-line is pathetically bad. I can't sugarcoat it. It is rough. I legitimately believe that's our one big weakness on our team. I think we're at least decent everywhere else, including quarterback. I believe in both Trubisky and Pickett. Run stopping obviously was a huge problem for our defense last year, but I think the D-line was banged up a little bit. I think if we can get healthy this year, adding Tyson Alualu back, Ogunjobi, hopefully I'm saying his name right, from Cincinnati, sure up that D-line. I think we'll do better against the run here. But our offensive line, I'm not convinced is any better. But if it can perform against Cincinnati, I think we have a great chance here. Fantasy player to watch is still going to be Joe Mixon. I mentioned we were the worst in the league against the run last year. I think we've secured up that D-line. Like I said, Alualu just coming off injury, I think is a huge addition. Miles Jack is a middle linebacker and help stop the run. Supposedly, from what I'm hearing, he's helped Devin Bush kind of regain his rookie form a little bit and not the pathetic linebacker he was last year. So hopefully that's all true and we can stop the run. But until I see it, Joe Mixon's still going to be our player to watch here. If we're like we were last year, he can run all over us. The key to victory, like I said, I've danced all over it. It's that O-line protect not only protecting Trubisky. If they can give Trubisky time, let him look over the defense, make the right reads, but also the quarterback battle between Trubisky and Pickett was fairly irrelevant. Our offense runs through Najee Harris. That's where our offense runs. I know he's got the plantar fasciitis he's coming off of. I don't even believe he was listed on the injury report. He's good to go. Our offensive line, obviously, I want them to pass block and not get sacked a bunch. More importantly, I want them to be able to run block. If they can open up holes for Najee and just let Najee run all over Cincinnati, then we'll be in good shape. Hold the ball forever. Now, if Najee had an offensive line, he'd be the best running back in football. I firmly believe that. Like, he had 1,200 yards last year just on quantity because we can't block. So hopefully that's gotten better. Najee can run a little wild, and that's how Pittsburgh is going to beat Cincinnati Bengals. Next up, we got the Niners going to Chicago. Injury here is Armstead is questionable for the Niners, or offensive lineman. Defensive lineman. And for Chicago, they have offensive lineman Jenkins, who is probable. Sorry, there's Matt. He's going to play. And then one of their, I believe he's their number 2 wide receiver, Byron Pringle, is questionable. I'm not sure if he'll play. To be honest, I don't think much of their wide receivers outside of Darnell Mooney anyways. Yeah, this is the key matchup here. This should be a fun one. It's battle of second-year quarterbacks. Took different routes. Justin Fields was thrown in right away. Go be our guy in Chicago. And it was pretty awful last year. Both him and the team looked just bad. So, has he improved? Has the team around him improved? Based on their offseason, I don't know how the team around him could have improved. They didn't get better at any position, in my opinion. Roquan doesn't want to be there, but he's going to finish out his contract. And then Trey Lance for the Niners. Sat a year behind Garoppolo. And it's his team now. Like, the curious thing is, though, the Niners didn't get rid of Garoppolo. He's going to be the backup. I heard that Trey Lance took that as a sign of a team not having full confidence in him. And I can see where he's coming from, and I kind of agree, to be honest. I don't think they wanted to get rid of Garoppolo. Specifically, the coaching staff, I think, has some question marks about Trey Lance. So this game should tell us a lot. I'm not the hugest Trey Lance believer, but I'm also not a Justin Fields believer. They both have not shown me anything. Fantasy player to watch here. Excuse me. I don't think either Trey Lance or Justin Fields will have huge fantasy days. I think David Montgomery is your biggest fantasy guy to watch here. Obviously, Debo is a great fantasy guy too for the Niners. Great things for my fantasy team last year. But I'm curious to see how David Montgomery does for the Bears here in Week 1. In a battle between Trey Lance and Justin Fields, I'm going to take Justin Fields at home in Chicago, but not by much. Like I said, I just am not a Trey Lance believer. So for that reason, I'm taking the Bears to win at home. Next up, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the new Commanders. First year's the Commanders, right? Or was last year the first? Either way, it's the Washington Commanders now. Injuries for Jacksonville, you got James Robinson. He is probable now. I think he was just upgraded today. We will probably see him here in Week 1. We'll probably see James Robinson. For Washington, Logan Thomas is out. One of their safeties is questionable. Brian Robinson's obviously out. His gunshot wounds. Casey Young is out. One of their great defensive players. And Sims, one of their wide receivers, is also questionable. So obviously the Commanders coming into this game more injured. Chase Young's one of the big names to not start the season. Key matchup here is, in my mind, is just can Trevor Lawrence take care of the ball? I know that team around him was terrible last year, and on paper, I guess it's gotten better this year. I don't know about paying Christian Kirk all that money, but he's their number 1 wide receiver now. Let's see if he can earn it. But it's going to be Trevor Lawrence not throwing interceptions. He threw a ton last year, especially at the start of the year. Sorry, I keep yawning. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence threw a ton of interceptions. He needs to be able to protect that ball if Jacksonville wants to be better this year. I know a lot of people believe Jacksonville will be better this year. I'm not so sure I'm on that train yet. I mean, they'll be better, but by how much, we'll find out. Fantasy player to watch, like I said, whether I believe it or not, is going to be Christian Kirk. He's now the number 1 in Jacksonville. He was paid all this money to come in and perform. Let's see if he does. I don't know. I'm just curious. I want to watch. I want to see if Christian Kirk can come in and truly be a number 1, put up the fantasy numbers for you. Yeah. So I mean, I think the key to victory though still goes to Trevor Lawrence. Can he utilize his new weapons that the team has picked up around him? I believe their new tight end is Ingram. I don't know why I can't stop yawning. Evan Ingram, I believe, is their new tight end. So can he go use his new weapons, take care of the football while doing it? I think it's going to be a rough start. I think as they get more comfortable with each other, he might figure it out. But I'm actually going to take Washington here at home in Week 1. Again, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to take a minute to figure out this new offense. His new weapons to get fully meshed together. So moving on after that, we got Eagles-Lions. And if you watch Hard Knocks, how can you not be rooting for the Lions right now? Injury-wise, Philly has a tackle that is out. Kelsey, their center, not Travis Kelsey, Jason Kelsey, his brother, is probable. Playing Miles Sanders, their running back, is probable. And for Detroit, one of their guards is out for this game. Key matchup is last year, Jalen Hurts ran a lot of designed runs. Like he was, I believe he had more designed runs than Lamar. Like Lamar had more scrambles. Like they're usually pass plays for the most part. I mean, obviously they have some designed runs, but he scrambles and runs around a lot. Jalen Hurts ran a lot of designed runs. They got some new weapons there, such as AJ Brown, but I think they're still gonna run the same type of offense and have a lot of quarterback designed runs. So I think the key matchup here is the Lions having some sort of spy or something on Jalen Hurts and contain him. Don't let him gain anything on the ground. Force him to beat you with his arm. And let's see if he can do it. I'm not saying he can't, but I think you got to force him to try to beat you that way. That's my fantasy player watching this game is Jalen Hurts. I'm curious what he brings to the table this year. A lot of people seeing him taking a big step up this year and being a top tier, specifically fantasy quarterback, being a good quarterback overall. I want to see it. I want to see what happens here. Again, force him to beat you with his arm, not his legs. And See where that goes. I do think he can do it. I am picking Philly here. I'm picking Jalen Hurts to go get this win, but still think Detroit's got to force him to play with his arm, not his leg. Next up, we got Baltimore going into New York and the Jets. And this is that Joe Flacco revenge game. He's been gone long enough. I don't know if he's looking at it as a revenge game, but I like to look at it that way. So, injuries wise, Baltimore has linebacker Ojabo. I don't know how you say it for sure, but he's out. J.K. Dobbins is doubtful for week 1. Linebacker Bowser is out. Gus Edwards is out. And for the New York Jets, Zach Wilson. He was listed as questionable when I took my notes, but I know he is out. And they said maybe till week 4 now. So, key matchup is Baltimore is obviously all about the run, and they lost Hollywood Brown. I don't know how good I believe Hollywood Brown is or was, but we know Baltimore just wants to ground and pound on you. So, key matchup is Jets slowing that down. You're not going to stop it, but you got to slow it down. As much as I said force Jalen Hurts to beat you this time, you have to force Lamar to beat you with his arm. And you have to force somebody to catch the ball for him, because Rashad Bateman is your number 1 now. Force their air attack to beat you. I think this game is simple as that. Can you contain Lamar? Force him to throw and not run. Wish these games weren't back-to-back, because it's very much the same thing I said with Jalen Hurts. But my fantasy player to watch here is Lamar Jackson as well. The Jets just need to keep him in the pocket. I don't think they'll be able to do that. I think he'll get outside. I think they will ground and pound all over the Jets. And I think the Ravens pick up the win. Moving on next, we got Colts and Texans. Indy travels to Houston. For Indy, their great linebacker Leonard is questionable. Their tackle O'Donnell is out. For Houston, their starting tight end is questionable. Their rookie wide receiver Mechie, I believe he got cancer before the season started. He is out for the year, which sucks. And then their rookie corner Stingley Jr. is probable. This game, very much like the one I just said before about forcing Lamar to beat you with his arm, contain the run. Obviously, Matt Ryan's not going to beat you with legs all the time, but you got to contain Jonathan Taylor. Force the team to beat you through the air. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is obviously the reigning rushing champ from last year. A monster of a player. The Texans got to find a way to contain him. I do think Jonathan Taylor can be had. He had some slow games here and there. Specifically, he's had more slow halves than he gets going in the second half, or vice versa. But you got to contain Jonathan Taylor. Force Matt Ryan to run this new offense with the team and beat you through the air. Don't let Jonathan Taylor run all over you. I do think they're going to throw the ball a little bit more than they should, Indy. I think they should just pound it, but I think they're going to get cute with it and throw it a little bit more with Matt Ryan now. And that's why my fantasy player to watch. I want to see how Michael Pittman Jr. does with Matt Ryan there. A lot of people hyping up Michael Pittman this year, thinking he's going to have a big year. I don't think he's all that special of a wide receiver talent, personally. I think he's good, but not great. I want to see what he does here week 1 with Matt Ryan. He's my fantasy player I'm keeping an eye on here. But either way, Houston's my pick this year for the worst team in the NFL. I think it's going to be a struggle for them to win any games. I never pick anyone to go 0-17. I think Houston will win 2 or 3. I'll go with 3. But this won't be one of them. Indy picks up the win here in week 1. Next up, we got Cleveland at Carolina. Baker's revenge game. And as a Steeler for them, I've had the Browns in our division for years. My whole life. No, they haven't been there forever, but in my whole life, a football watching life, the Browns have been in our division. And Baker Mayfield's the best quarterback I've ever seen them have in my entire life. I'm 27 years old. Baker Mayfield's the greatest Browns quarterback I've ever seen. and they tossed him aside for somebody with 27 sexual assault allegations or whatever the number was. I feel bad for Baker. I think he got poor treatment there. I think people turned on him too quickly. I think he was hurt last year, and that's a lot of reason for his late season struggles. I think you're going to have a healthy Baker this year. I think he is going to tear it up against the Browns. I think he is pissed, and I think he is going to show it. And I know I didn't even mention some of the injuries and stuff, but obviously my key matchup here is Baker versus old team. But injuries, let's talk about them. Obviously, Deshaun Watson suspended through 11. Newsome, the corner for Cleveland, is probable. He should play. And the center for Carolina is out. Yeah, keys to victory here is I want Baker to go nuts. But really, one of the keys to victory for Carolina, and it has been for years, is Christian McCaffrey going to stay healthy? That's the big fantasy question. That's the big real life question for Carolina. Can Christian McCaffrey just stay healthy? If he is healthy and a weapon for Baker, I think they can torch the Browns. Even though I think the Browns are the better talent team. I just think Baker won't allow them to lose this. My fantasy player to watch here, though, is Nick Chubb. Can he run against Carolina with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback? Because Brissett is a step down from Baker or Deshaun Watson, obviously. So we'll see how that goes. But I am going to pick Carolina here to beat the Browns again, if nothing else, on the will of Baker Mayfield. Next up, we got the Giants going to Tennessee. Injuries for this one for the Giants. Tony, is the wide receiver, is probable. He'll be playing probably. Their kicker, Graham Gano, is probable. That's always a weird situation with kicker injuries. Lyman Williams is probable. Sterling Shepard is probable. Thibodeau, their new rookie linebacker, is out. For Tennessee, got Robert Woods is probable, and their linebacker Landry is out. Key matchup here, and I just repeat everything I said with the Jonathan Taylor game. What I said, Houston needs to do to stop. They need to stop Jonathan Taylor to have a chance. This is the same team or the same offense. Slow down Derrick Henry, force Ryan Tannehill to beat Drew Farm. I mean, yeah, it's going to be that question to me. Is Derrick Henry fully back from that injury he had last year? He missed some time. Is he back to being the dominant Derrick Henry he was pre-injury? Or are there some lingering effects? Can the Giants take advantage of that, slow him down? My fantasy player to watch here is Derrick Henry. I think everything in this game relies around Derrick Henry. If he can get back to where he was dominating Jonathan Taylor last year. Like, he was going to be your rushing leader until he got hurt. I think he does return to form, at least close to it. Helps Tennessee plenty to be a not very good New York Giants team. And so Tennessee will be my pick to win here. Yeah, like I said, not much more to say there. Derrick Henry, go run over the Giants. Next up, we got a good one. Green Bay and Minnesota, some division rivals here. For a few years now, I don't know if everyone takes notice of it. My mom's a Bears fan, so I pay attention to the NFC North quite a bit. It's been this weird triangle for the last, I don't know, half decade at least or so, where Green Bay absolutely dominates Chicago. Chicago kind of dominates Minnesota in a lot of ways. And Minnesota beats Green Bay more often than not. It's kind of this weird little triangle. And draw a triangle. Weird little triangle between the three. So if that continues, like I said, Minnesota should win this game. But injuries going into it. Allen Lazard is questionable, the new number 1 for Green Bay. So they need him on the field because their wide receiver core is not deep and not very good. Their guard Jenkins is questionable. Bakhtiari is questionable. And tight end Robert Tonyan is questionable. For Minnesota, Irv Smith Jr., their tight end, is probable, and that is pretty much it. The key matchup here is going to be this young, say young, they're not all new guys, but this new Packers receiver core. I personally do not think it's very good at all, but you got Allen Lazard, Sammy Watkins, some rookies. But And I know one of the rookie wide receivers, too, Watkins, is also questionable for the Packers. Let's see if this new wide receiver core can get it done with Aaron Rodgers now that Devontae Adams is gone. They do still have Randall Cobb. That's still a connection Rodgers is used to. But let's see if this receiver core can get it done against Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the key matchup and the key to victory, I think. If this receiver core can help Rodgers do what he needs to do, they can go get the win. If they can't, then I think Minnesota might run away with this game, both figuratively and literally. Dalvin Cook torched Green Bay last year. There's a chance he does that again. So we'll see. And the Vikings, with their new coaching staff, want to air it out a little bit more with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen and Kirk Cousins. So I'm kind of excited to see this new Minnesota look. If the coaching staff can get their secondary in order from last year, which was pretty awful, they can be a very good football team. I think Minnesota might be getting looked past by a lot of teams or a lot of people. I think Minnesota can have a very good year, and I'm picking them to beat Green Bay here in week 1. Next up, we have another great game. Kansas City going to Arizona. Not as much as the Bills-Rams one, but honestly, this can be a sleeper Super Bowl prediction if you really wanted it to be. Yeah, Kansas City going down to Arizona here. For Kansas City, Valdez-Scantling is probable. McDuffie, their rookie corner, who I kind of wanted the Steelers to take in the draft, is questionable. Their own lineman, Niang, is out. Juju is questionable, I believe. Is obviously, I'm a Juju fan coming from the Steelers, but I believe he's questionable as well. He's been getting his leg drained or whatever. He drained. For Arizona, Zach Ertz is questionable. DeAndre Hopkins is suspended for the first 6 games, I believe. Key matchup is this Chiefs O-line, which was better last year. Can they remain that way or even improve more against this Arizona pass rush? Because we all know 2 years ago how bad that Chiefs offensive line was. We watched it in the Super Bowl, getting ran over. Last year was better. Not great, but better. Can this Arizona pass rush get to Mahomes? If they can get some sacks, force him to hurry a little bit. He doesn't have Tyreek Hill to just chuck it down the field to anymore. Cole Hardman hasn't proved anything. Valdez-Scantling and Juju haven't fully proved they can be number ones. Obviously, he still has Travis Kelce, who's the best tight end in football. That is a great release valve to have. But like I said, Arizona's got to get pressure on him and then see what happens from there. He had plenty of interceptions in the first half of last year. Like, looking at them, so many of them were fluky and not his fault, speaking about Mahomes. But nonetheless, there was plenty of turnovers. So get to Mahomes, force him to make quick decisions. Fantasy player to watch for me has got to be Kyler Murray. Obviously, he had all the contract discussions in the offseason, and people made a big deal about his clause in there that was then later taken out about him studying game film. So let's see how all that turns out. Let's see what Kyler can do here in week 1. He's my fantasy player to watch here. And key to victory is, what does that Chiefs offense look like without Tyreek Hill? How big of a blow is that? If they can still chuck it around the field and fly as fast as they have in the past, no big deal. Great. Kansas City can probably win this game easily. If that Tyreek Hill loss is as big as it could be, Chiefs offense might sputter at times, giving Arizona a chance to go down the field with Kyler and their offense and put up some points. So that's my big question mark here, is what's that Chiefs offense look like this year? For that reason, I am actually taking Arizona to win out in the desert here in week 1. I think Kansas City's going to have a down year. I don't know how down I think it's going to be. They're still a good football team, but I'm going to take Arizona here in week 1. Next up, we have Raiders at Chargers. Battle of the best division of football, in my opinion. The NL. Thinking baseball in my head. The AFC West, between the Raiders and Chargers here. For the Raiders, Darren Waller is probable. I would expect to play. For the Chargers, one of their great corners, Jackson, is out. JC Jackson is out. Key matchup here is, what's Josh Jacobs looking like now? What's he going to be able to do against that front 7 for the Chargers? And the Raiders run the ball a little bit. I know they got Devontae Adams. I So they're going to want to fall in love with chucking the ball at Derek Carr and Waller and Adams and their weapons. You got to be able to run the ball still. I have more trust in teams that are able to run the ball. That's why I still don't like, even going back to Buffalo, ever run the ball. And I think if you get too one-dimensional, just bad stuff can happen, even through no fault of your own. If you're so one-dimensional, just it makes it harder. Not impossible, just harder. I don't want the Raiders to get away from the run. Josh Jacobs is still a good running back. I know he's had some injuries now, and I know they got some other guys there. I still expect Josh Jacobs to be the number one guy. I want to see how he's used. I think they need to try to run the ball against the Chargers, who they were easier to run it against than throw it against last year. So try to capitalize on that. Fantasy player to watch is Keenan Allen. Forgotten great wide receiver in this league at times. Mainly because Chargers have no fans, I think, and they play out west. So I don't know. I just don't think you get to see nationally televised Chargers games as much. But Keenan Allen's still a great receiver, has been for a long time. I think Herbert's going to find him a couple times in this game, and going to find the end zone at least once. Keenan Allen is my fantasy receiver to watch, fantasy player to watch. And I think the key to victory here will be which unit provides more, the Chargers run defense or the Raiders pass rush. Whichever one of those provides more for your team, I think determines the winner. And for me, I think the Chargers run defense will do more than the Raiders pass rush will. And I think that might be because of the Raiders' lack of attempts to run the football. So that's why I'm going to take the Chargers here. I think both these teams are going to be very good this year. I think the Chargers, honestly, if I were to make Super Bowl pick, the Chargers might be my AFC choice. I don't know that for sure without thinking more about it. But honestly, yeah, spur of the moment, I'm going to make my Super Bowl pick right now. It's going to be Chargers and no, we're going to get real crazy with it. My Super Bowl pick right now is Chargers and Vikings. That's my Super Bowl pick. Right here, you heard it first. Chargers are going to start the season beating the Raiders here and make it all the way to the Super Bowl unless the Steelers stop them, which they will. But if I can't pick the Steelers, my Super Bowl pick is Chargers, Vikings. Moving on to the last game on Sunday, we got Tampa Bay at Dallas. For Tampa, they got a lot of guys banged up. No one's really, besides their Ryan Jensen, their center, being out. Everyone else just dinged up. But on that list is Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Neal, their safety, tackles, Russell Gage. All those guys are either probable or questionable. For Dallas, obviously their tackle Smith is out for quite some time. Joseph, their corner, is questionable. Michael Gallup is doubtful. Big matchup here is going to be, in my opinion, is Dak Prescott versus secondary of Tampa. What's Dak Prescott got for us this year? He's had up and down last few years. Pre-injury, I thought he was great. Then obviously he had that terrible injury. Came back last year, I thought was pretty good. So I'm curious to see what Dak Prescott looks like. My fantasy player to watch here is CeeDee Lamb. How good of a connection does he have now that he is clearly the number one? No more Amari Cooper there. What can he do for the Cowboys? Obviously, on the other side, Tampa with Tom Brady and all the weapons he has there. Again, a lot of dinged up guys, but I expect them all to play. I expect them to have the full repertoire of Godwin and Evans and Fournette. Obviously, no more Gronk, but that being said, he wasn't biggest of weapons last year anyways. But I think it's going to come down to, can Dak put up points on that secondary of Tampa? If he can kind of pick apart that secondary a little bit with CeeDee Lamb, and if he can go down, up and down the field and put up some points, I think Dallas will win. Obviously, you say about any team, if they put up points, they're going to win the game. I don't have full faith in Zeke anymore. I do like Tony Pollard. Colts, their tight end, I think solid. But I think Tampa's going to get off to a slow start. Not having Brady there for the first 3 or 4 weeks or whatever while he was doing what many believe was the Masked Singer. Won't be a big deal, but I don't know why. Just in my gut, I kind of have this feeling Tampa's going to get off to a slow start this year. As a Steeler fan, I do hate Tom Brady, so maybe that's my heart playing a little bit with it. But I think Tampa's going to get off to a slow start. So I hate Tom Brady. As a Steeler fan, I also hate the Cowboys. So this was a tough one for me. But I am going to take the Cowboys here to win in Dallas here in week 1. Now, that brings us lastly to the Monday Night Football game. Broncos at Seahawks. Russ going back home to Seattle in his first game away from the Seahawks. So, injury-wise for Denver, Jerry Jeudy is probable. We got a couple linebacker who's questionable, offensive lineman who's probable, Tim Patrick, the wide receiver, out. For Seattle, they got a guard that's questionable, and one of their corners is out. Key matchup here, I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It's Russ versus old team. I mean, I don't need to say much more than that. That Seattle defense was pretty bad last year. Terrible the year before, bad last year. Specifically the secondary. So, I want to see if Russ can just let Russ cook. Let's go with that. If he can cook his old team, the Seahawks, then the Broncos, I think, will run away with this game. I got some friends that are saying they think this one's going to be closer than expected. I kind of disagree. I think Denver's going to destroy the Seahawks here. I think this might be the biggest blowout of the week. I think Russ is going to throw 4 touchdowns. I think Russ throws 4 touchdowns against Seattle here. Fantasy player to watch for me, especially if Jerry Jeudy's a little banged up, is going to be Cortland Sutton. I think he's going to be the fantasy player here to watch for Denver. As Russ is throwing all these touchdowns, Cortland Sutton's probably going to catch 2 of them. So that is my fantasy player to watch. And as I've said, Denver is my pick to win that game. So those are all my picks for week 1. Breezing through them: Rams, Falcons, Dolphins, Steelers, Bears, Commanders, Eagles, Ravens, Colts, Panthers, Titans, Vikings, Cardinals, Chargers, Cowboys, Broncos. Those are all my picks. If you want to compare your picks with mine, I will have a link, and I will put it on the screen as well, but it will also be in the description to both the ESPN Pick'em that I will have a group for if you want to join. Compare them against mine and whoever else joins picks. And also an eliminator challenge for ESPN. If you've never been a part of that, what that is you pick one game every single week. If you're right, you move on to the next week. And once you pick a team, you can no longer pick them again the rest of the year. For week 1, I picked Carolina to beat Cleveland. I am so confident in that one and Baker winning that game. I picked the Panthers. So if I'm right, I'll move on to week 2, and then I can no longer pick the Panthers the rest of the year. I don't have a problem with. I don't know how many games I think the Panthers are really going to win. But they are my week 1 eliminator challenge pick. So if you want to join either of those, I will have them in the description. Make sure to look down there, join those on ESPN, and I'd love to have you around. If we get enough people for those, and I continue doing this and it works out, maybe next year we can have a fantasy league for people watching this. But obviously I don't have the following to do that yet. I'd love to, but maybe next year. All that being said, that's all I got for week 1 of the NFL. Super excited to have football back. Can't be more happy. I'm such a big NFL fan. And yeah, if you guys stuck around for this whole thing and just listen to me ramble about football for 50 minutes, I really appreciate you guys. Like I said, this was just an excuse for me to talk some football. Hope you got some out of it, or let me know what you thought of my picks. Anything I said that you disagree with, any opinions you have going into week 1. Yeah. All that being said, I hope you guys do like and subscribe to both the channel and the video. Check out some of my other videos. I really would appreciate that from you. And yeah, all that being said, I hope you all have a good day and a good night. I'll catch you guys in a future video. Bye, guys.